or anything going on.
Right. Plus,
And the
there's,
thing is, if he asks me to do something, say for a half hour in overtime, I just leave.
yeah,
He don't,
yeah. As long as you get the work done.
somebody says,
I just
I do what I want.
hoping I wasn't the only one.
We're gonna start
But I
now.
guess I am.
Yeah.
You just gave her the heads
The
up.
oldest one,
I'll talk to you later.
the oldest one got married and had babies.
Michael,
Gone.
Okay.
at the other end of the table? Hello? Hello?
Thank you very much for the candy.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We'll go ahead and get started, folks. I call to order the meeting of the Manassas Park Governing Body for February 7th, 2023. First, we have approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
The only thing I'm recommending, Madam Mayor, is that you pull out the VML financing from consent and make it a new agenda item to open it up for discussion, because I provided a lot of attachments
Okay,
related to the actual
That
agreement.
would be old business?
Well, it's new because we're entering into a different, we're not working with community first. We could move it in old business, but it's a brand new institution with VML, so I recommend it probably should be a new business item.
Let's move it to 9D.
Perfect.
Okay. 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 And my understanding is we have no closed session. Is that correct? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you. At this time, I would like us to please take note of the passing of several Manassas Park residents. First, please remember Ms. Sue Swansby. She served off and on as an electoral board member in Manassas Park from 1998 until her move to North Carolina. Ms. Swansby passed on December 26, 2022. Also, please take note of the passing of former Mayor Bob Maitland on January 14, 2023. He was a long-time Manassas Park resident. Mayor Maitland served Manassas Park in several ways. He served as council member, as mayor, and as a member of the Manassas Park School Board. And with generous hearts, he and Mrs. Maitland cared for foster children. Please remember Ms. Swansby, Mayor Maitland, and their families in your thoughts and prayers. Okay, please join us for a moment of silence and Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, moving on to public comment time. We have one person signed up, Mr. Doyle Christian. Please go to the microphone, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you, sir.
My name is Doyle Christian. I live at 120 Alpine Street. My topic tonight is speeders. We, as a Manassas Park, need to get the police department to enforce radar. The $1 million signs y'all replace with additional $200 fine is not doing the job. You got to run radar. Every jurisdiction around this town runs radar, middle of the night, during the day. I go to work at 5:15. When I cross over here, even on Manassas Drive on the other side, it's Indianapolis 500. Same thing coming home. That pole, everybody seen the pictures. If that car was 2 feet over and somebody was inside that bus stop, you'll have a fatality on your hands. In my opinion, nobody's going to enforce radar, try to slow them down, unless one of y'all's close friends, family members, or y'all are in an accident by a speeder. have said something to the chief, nothing. If they need training, we got the money from the red light cameras and the radar camera. There's plenty of money for training for these new officers. And now, and the second topic is, we got it on the books for the new law. It's been on there for over a year. These commercial vehicles and boats and trailers sitting on the side of the road. We need to enforce it. It's on the books. Months ago, they said, oh, we got to get signs. No, you don't. You got that big billboard you put up for anything else. Hey, no trucks on the street from 8 to 8. So I like to do it, and I talk to other citizens. They want to see them gone. If not, I could be bringing my big bucket truck home, and if you can't do nothing with them, ain't nothing you can do with me, and my truck's gonna take up 3 parking spots. And, you know, I told boss, no. So to come home on standby, they give me a pickup. You know, so it's that easy. You know, I'm just trying to work with I don't want to crowd the street, but if nobody don't want to do nothing, that means I can bring a bucket home. I don't know how y'all feel about that, but it's the truth.
Sir, your 3 minutes is up.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. We hear you.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Is there anyone else who is not signed up but who would still like to make public comment? Seeing no one and hearing no one, we will move on. At this point, I do want to call the public's attention to a change in the rules and procedures that the governing body follows. This document was approved by the governing body at the January 17th meeting. Any comments that come in during the meeting will still be forwarded to me, and I will read those comments during the second public comment period towards the end of the meeting. So please know that we're not forgetting about you. We'll just read them at a later time. Okay, moving on to number 4, FY23 budget amendment correction. Public hearing. Purpose of the public hearing is an FY23 budget amendment correction. I declare the public hearing open.
All right, good evening, Mayor and members of the governing body. This is more of a correction. So the budget you voted on, the spreadsheet, included tap fee revenues that for some reason weren't on the advertisement for the actual budget. So to correct that and correct the ordinance to align with the actual budget you voted for, we re-advertised with the correct tap fee revenues included for the water and sewer fund. That's this $2 million over here. So this isn't anything additional. It was already in the budget. It's just it didn't get to the advertisement. So this is the tap fee revenues now that are being added back into the water and sewer fund via advertisement, but that was already in the budget. So there's no financial impact. It's just literally an advertisement correction, and then we'll
Any
adjust that with an updated ordinance and appropriations.
Thank you, Laszlo. Comments or questions? Comments or questions? Okay. Is there anyone signed up who would like to make public comment? Okay, seeing no one, no questions, no comments. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. And we'll be voting on this at the February 21st meeting. Is that correct, Laszlo?
Yes, I will try to get the ordinance.
I'm sorry?
I'll try to get the ordinance done by that time.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to consent agenda. We are removing the VML financing for school security. There were several versions of the resolution that were uploaded, so I think it's wise to clarify which one we're voting on. So consent agenda, there's also a clarification I want to make. The agenda item for the UOSA appointment did not include information regarding my being the primary and Alan Rowley being the alternate, which is the case. So consent agenda consists of approval of the minutes of January 17th, 2023, reappointment of Jeanette Rischel as the primary representative and Alan Rowley as the alternate to represent the city on the Upper Occoquan Service Authority Board of Directors for a term that will expire on March 1st, 2027, and approval of an ordinance declaring city equipment as surplus and authorizing city manager to sell the surplus equipment. Do we have a motion?
Move the consent calendar.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on to 9A. 9A is NVTA Planning Coordination Advisory Committee appointment. As you can see from the paperwork, this is a spot that we need to fill for the NVTA. And as the paperwork indicates, NVTA alternate has served as the PCAC representative, as Preston did when he was with us. Vice Mayor Alana Mensing has indicated she is the current NVTA alternate, and she has indicated a willingness to serve. Are there any comments or questions? Okay, the motion would be then that the governing body appoint Vice Mayor Alana Mensing to serve as the city representative on the NVTA Planning Coordination Advisory Committee.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you, and thank you for stepping up to serve.
My pleasure.
Okay. Moving on to 9B. 9B is community center rate increases for the community center and water park. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the governing body. I'm here tonight to recommend a rate increase.
Can you, yeah, thank you.
To recommend a rate. Now it is. Now it's working.
Thank you.
Testing. Here to recommend a rate increase to, for our programs or for our drop-ins at both the community center and at Signal Bay Water Park. Traditionally, our department as a whole has had a cost recovery around 40%. However, over the last few years, due to minimum wage increases and just the overall increase in cost and everything, our cost recovery has gone down this year as projected. If we come in, as we've anticipated, we'll be around 26%. So quite a big decrease in our cost recovery. Additionally, Signal Bay Water Park has, over the last 7 years, since we did that big renovation in 2015, we've always been around 140, 150% cost recovery. This year we were just over 100%, and that is with our highest grossing season that we've ever had. So the more money we made, unfortunately, the more money we were paying out to our employees and our contractors and supplies and those type of things. So we are proposing a rate increase for our drop-ins. In addition, we are going to create a senior non-resident drop-in category. We didn't have that prior. We just had across-the-board seniors at a rate, and now we're going to designate between resident and non-resident. And then we are, in addition to that, going to propose an increase to our 3-month passport, which is just our 3-month membership, and create a non-resident category for that membership, which we did not have before as well. And then for Signal Bay, we are going to increase the rates across the board and create or increase the rates a little bit more on weekends, just because there is a higher demand on the weekends at the water park. Out of all the weekends at the water park, a majority of them over the last few seasons we have reached capacity, which is a nice thing to have, but just shows the demand for the use on weekends. And then along with that at the water park, increasing the cost of our 15 admission punch pass, just to coordinate more with our increased drop-in rates, and then increasing our birthday party package costs, because the cost of everything to include pizza has gone through the roof over the last few years, so we're going to have to charge more.
Just want to add that in the memo, I highlighted who our actual competitors are, so you can see it. We listed other prices in the region, but these are the actual nearest ones that people may substitute for.
Okay, thank you. It appears that we have made every effort to keep prices down for residents, keep the resident rate low.
Correct.
Thank you for doing that. I wanted to, am I reading this correctly, that there's when it comes to the birthday party package, there's no resident and non-resident.
Correct. It's my
structure.
understanding that with our land agreement with Prince William County, we are not allowed over there at Signal Bay to charge a difference between residents and non-residents. So there is not a resident or a non-resident rate over there.
For explaining that. Any comments or questions? Yes, ma'am.
Do we currently know how many non-residents have memberships, both senior and adults?
Not for memberships. I can tell you how many people came in using those different point of sales for last year. So those point of sales for the community center, our non-resident youth, we had 1,312. In our adults for non-residents, we had 2,893. A majority were adult drop-ins, resident adult drop-ins. I will tell you one thing that we plan to be a lot more strict on when we have this rate increase go into effect is that everyone that comes in has to show proof of residency to the community center, or show proof of residency in the Manassas Park when they come into the community center, because now it's kind of a blanket. Are you a park resident? Yes, great, okay, it's this much. Now it's going to be, you got to show proof of it. The plan is, once this is approved, staff at the front desk will be directed to start asking that question from now until April 15th, when it will go into effect, to kind of get them trained on what the new expectation will be, so that they'll bring in that information with them.
I remember that being an issue
I-
years ago when I worked at Parks and Rec, and
And
that was
I-
free back then.
I'm sure it will be met with some anger at first, but, we want to reduce the burden on the taxpayers, and I have a feeling that a majority, or not a majority, but a good portion of our adults that are coming to do a drop-in aren't necessarily residents, but they just know to say, yeah, I'm a resident.
Okay, thank you.
Follow-up? No? Okay. Comments or questions? Yes, sir.
Well, I think everyone's aware how inflation has hit everybody by 8 to 9%. So, those people who are grumbling are still getting a great deal. And the fact that you kept our senior resident rate at the same level of $2 is just fantastic. And I appreciate your effort in doing that, and look forward to supporting this bill.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Comments or questions?
Yes, good evening. Drop-in, what do you mean by drop-in? The people that don't have a membership?
Correct. So the daily, just daily use for the community center. And then the water park, we don't have a season pass. We got rid of that just after COVID because there was so much uncertainty in each season, whether, there was going to be another COVID outbreak. And the other thing that we found is with having these punch passes, it's more of a bulk purchase of season pass or of tickets in advance. Gives us a little bit more flexibility to close on those less than perfect weather days. Traditionally, those rainy, chillier than normal days, those are the days that the season pass holders would love to come because it didn't cost them anything extra and it was pretty slow. Well, unfortunately, from a cost recovery standpoint, we're losing money those days. So this gives us the ability, without too much backlash, to say, no, it's less than perfect. We're going to close up and send those guards home and save money that way. But also, there is lifeguard shortages and stuff like that. We've been very lucky and not had that happen since 2019. But every place is kind of having that issue where, it could happen where, everyone gets sick now and we have to shut the pool down for a day. It kind of gives us that ability without upsetting our season pass holders.
So to follow up with that question, so the drop-ins, do we have any number of increases? Has the drop-in rate increased?
That's what we're asking
Patrons?
for, is to.
No, not the rate, the patrons.
Yeah, the number of people who are using drop-ins versus memberships now.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Post-COVID, I don't have the exact numbers to say one way or another, but I would imagine that a lot of people aren't committing to memberships currently. They're just paying the drop-ins because our rates are so affordable. Our hope is that by increasing the rates, we'll be able to recover more of our costs, but also kind of push those people that maybe are on the fence about getting a membership, because we're not planning, at least, I know Jay and I's plan is not for at least the next year to look at increasing our membership rates unless, you all would like us to, but we kind of want, this to be kind of push them into that more reliable income versus, just paying that drop in.
And so from a budget, we have seen an increase in the drop-in revenues and a decrease in membership revenues. So we're hoping this will push more people to membership revenues.
Well, yeah, that's the goal, right? Well, but what if it goes the opposite way? What if we deter people from either dropping in and all, or also joining the membership.
That's why I factored in the reduced. So if you look at the memo where it says city manager assumption of the price increase costing a 5% decrease in additional revenues, because in like for the community center for the drop in, the assumption there was we're still much lower in the drop in rate. So there's no substitute still, right? However, some people now just may say, hey, guess what, I'm just not coming at all. So that's why I had a lower percentage drop there, because there was no clear substitute. And some of the other ones, we were now a little bit more pricier than Cub Run, so I had a higher decrease in people actually coming now because they have a substitute in Cub Run to go to instead of us that has a slightly higher price. So that's how I factored in kind of the increase it's not a 1-for-1. That you increase by $1, you get $1 more per transaction, because some people, to your point, are going to either substitute and go somewhere else or just not come at all.
I mean, the rates are still low compared to our competitors. I mean, it's not going to be a big difference. But, I mean, for cost recovery standpoint, this makes sense. But for a marketing standpoint, does it make sense, you know?
Right, and, our big plan is to be very transparent as soon as, this is all approved, is to let everyone know it's coming. I think we've made that mistake in the past where maybe we weren't as forthcoming with the information or let them know until we were 100% ready to commit to it. But I think the point is to let them know as soon as possible and then explain it to them. I mean, we're not the only industry that's inflating or having to increase their prices on things. Right. And so, I'm hoping that at least the taxpayers will appreciate that, we're not trying to overburden them. We're trying to bring it back to the people who are actually using the facilities.
And do you see more youth coming in as drop-ins or adults?
Let's see. Teen drop-ins, it's predominantly teens. I mean, it's about 5,078 was how many point of sales we sold last year as a teen drop-in, whereas adults, the adult resident was 8,400, so.
Right, I mean, the community center is supposed to be a teen hotspot, right? And I don't want them to feel like we're increasing it and all of a sudden now they're out there somewhere else,
Correct.
So that's my only concern is that, I mean, I know we didn't do the increase for the seniors, that's fine. For the youth, I would probably advise the same way. I don't know how the council would feel, but the adult, okay, we can increase it maybe a little more competitively. But for the teen, I mean, that's supposed to be their hangout spot after school and come out and, just play, And I'm just worried that, it can't be free, we know that. But with the increase, would that be beneficial for the youth?
Right. I mean, we only increased it $1, and we did not designate a resident, non-resident rate for the teens because we want any and all the teens there. So that was kind of our thought with the teens. The other group that we didn't put on here was our buddies, and we only at any given point, have a handful of our buddies, our adults with developmental disabilities or cognitive disabilities. We did not increase their rate at all because we feel like they're probably on a fixed income and didn't want to keep them from coming. But that's where we stand with that.
I just have note too, this doesn't apply for younger teens, but for older teens, with the minimum wage increases, even teens now that are working are making more money as well. So, and it's impacting our labor market as well. For our part-time employees, we're seeing a significant increase in labor costs, which is one of the reasons driving this as well.
Okay, any other? Yes, ma'am.
I think the cost going from $3 to $4 is still cheaper than going to a local coffee shop and getting a coffee. So it's a bargain. I think any youth can go look underneath the cushions on a couch or babysit, do something, rake leaves, and get the $4 if they don't have it.
Yeah.
And I want to say, working in Parks and Rec before, as you know, I think Manassas Park's been good, specifically UNJ, at coming across at doing rate increases. You've looked
Can you
at it.
speak directly into this?
Sorry. I think the department here has been very considerate to the community in looking at rate increases. Have been very fair, and I support this, and I think I know you put a lot of time into it to come to a structure that's fair for everybody in the community. So I'm very supportive.
Thank you.
And this is just to clarify, it's only when they want to use the pool or the gym or any other amenities in the community center. They can come in and hang out anytime they want, correct? Or do they have to pay just to hang out?
They would need to pay to come in and hang out. If they're in a program, then they don't pay in addition to whatever their program might be. But if they were coming, we're assuming they're going to use the amenities. The The one thing I will say about the teens is that we do have a teen passport that is reasonably priced at $20 a month. But with that, there's also ways to bring that cost down based on community service hours. And they just work with the teen specialist on kind of bringing that rate down. So there are ways, even if they're not old enough to have a job, if they're 12 or 13 and can't have a job, that they can volunteer and earn kind of a discount on that cost.
That's wonderful.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it's amazing that the rates have not gone up since 2015 for Signal Bay and Community Center 2011. That's been a while.
Well, in 2011, I want to say it was actually a rate decrease. When we first opened, it was much higher, and then I think at some point decreased it, I want to say. Is that?
We're definitely overdue for an increase.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, let's move on to the motion then. Thank you so much. It was a great presentation. Staff recommended motion is that the governing body approve the rate increases for Manassas Park Community Center drop-ins, Signal Bay Water Park drop-ins, Manassas Park Community Center 3-month passport, Signal Bay Water Park punch passes, and Signal Bay Water Park birthday party packages as presented.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to 9C, which is ERP implementation support. And we are very fortunate to have the CEO of Avero with us this evening. Welcome, Mr. Varakar. Welcome.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and members of the governing body. Give me 1 second to get this back up and running. So you need to go to HDMI 2. Where is it on? So you got to go input and go to HDMI 2.
One of the constituents provided these for us. Everybody got that. She left. She said you couldn't stay.
That's nice.
Don't hit it because it's going to keep going. Give it to me. Give me a sec. You're going the wrong way, but let me keep going. I think it's still picking up from when you hit it. Hold on. I gotta wait for it to stop moving. Give us 1 second, please. All right. Sorry about that. Our computer turned off for some reason. So good evening, Mayor and members of the governing body. Just for way of background for our residents, I think my memo was pretty self-explanatory, but again, just to kind of repeat some key points. In 2015, the city not only had a poor selection process for which ERP it was going to go with in that transition, but also didn't even have a plan for proper implementation, didn't even have any project manager on board, relied on the finance department, which was much smaller back then, who are not IT project managers, to actually go ahead and do the implementation. We had a failed implementation back then. The city couldn't pass audits for FY16 and FY17. So we knew we had to change something. The first step was to bring on an IT project manager who helped essentially go back and do a proper data migration from the legacy systems to Keystone so that we could actually pass the audits. And we made some basic enhancements as well so that we could actually function on an operational basis, knowing that even if we were to pick a new ERP that day, it would still take us a few years before we could actually have it up and running as well. And we want to do this process a lot better than the 2015 process. So we delayed our decision for that purpose. Again, we wanted an operational system, and we wanted to take our time to do this right. And then number two, we didn't even have the money at that time to even go with a new ERP. Things have changed. We got the money to do so through just improvements in the overall budget and also receiving COVID-19 relief funds that allowed us to use that funding for technology enhancements. We used that for step one in IT strategic roadmap, if you all remember, from Client First, that laid out kind of what all the things we had to do from an IT perspective for both software and hardware and when we should implement those items. Step two, we then contracted out support for requirements gathering for what we needed an ERP to actually do, to develop an RFP with those functional requirements across all those 4 different modules that we're utilizing: the tax, utility billing, financial software, and HR software, and then also the selection of who we're going to go with. So we have selected for our residents both our tax system and our utility billing system. We haven't started implementing them yet. We're still finalizing their contract details with the city attorney's office and with their attorneys as well, but we're close, I think, for the tax system. But more importantly, we don't even have our implementation contractor on board, and that's what we're talking about tonight. We need a professional project manager here in our city to guide us through the process of implementing these different modules. And I want to go over the budget real quick for what we have for this implementation. So you can see utilizing, again, ARPA funding. So we're not utilizing city funding. We're using ARPA. We budgeted about $1.55 million. Thus far, we've earmarked for the tax system $254,000, utility billing system $77,000. We are having a worst case, and I don't think the number is going to get even close to this, but a worst case of $630,000 for the financial and HR modules, and then the $210,000 for the system engineer to support this effort as well, which leaves us $378,000 to spend on this specific implementation effort. So we issued an RFP for implementation services, and you saw the attached memo that I had to my memo from staff about their recommendation. We decided to go with the Vero Advisors, who's joining us tonight, Mr. AV from the CEO of Vero. We went with them, and the RFP review results memo went over the rationale for that. But the cost is what I'm going to go over tonight, and then I'll turn it over to AV to introduce himself to you all and his company to you all as well. The cost structure is going to vary, and so how it's going to vary, I know there was a lot of nuance to this component, but essentially there's two tables, what's called fully managed and partially managed services, and I define what each of those was here, right? Just kind of how many hours we're getting for the different support elements from a project management standpoint. This goes over all the fully managed prices per tax system, utility billing, and financial and HR. And then this is a hybrid approach of a fully managed tax system implementation, because that's what we're going to do first, and then a partially managed utility billing and financial HR. So the price can range. This is the high point for the total cost of $462,000. But the way I'm asking for is that it could be a low of $107,000. The way I want to structure this contract is that we start off by working with the Vero to get taxes implemented, and if they perform well, then we'll proceed to the next step of working to the utility billing. We'll have that option laid out in the contract, and we're very confident that they are going to work out. So I laid out in my memo kind of the 7 different options that we have, whether it's just the fully managed tax implementation, or the fully managed implementation for all 3, or kind of a combination of what we want to do. I believe it's going to be number 2. I have faith that they're going to deliver results for us in helping us implement these different modules. So I think we will end up doing fully managed implementation for all 3, because I do believe we need that service for the city and the expertise from the outside to help us properly provide those project management services and help us with testing and data migration, everything else that we didn't do in 2015. So that's what I'm recommending is really a not to exceed amount of $462,000 for implementation of all these modules, but structuring the contract as I described in this memo. Are there any questions for me before I turn it over to AV to introduce Vero?
Really quick?
Yes.
If we didn't go with the proposed option number 2, how would you split up the,
Can you please speak into your microphone?
oh, sorry. If we didn't go with option 2 and we went with a combination of fully and partial, how would you do that?
Yeah, we'd have to definitely, if, let's say we're just going fully for tax, fully for UB, and then partial for financial and HR, we would only do that if we felt, I would listen to my staff and see how comfortable they feel after going through 2 rounds that they can now take on the full project management implementation. Again, I don't think that's going to be likely. I would still prefer to have the full services, and that's why I think number 2 is the likely. But I always want us to have options, right? If we feel comfortable, we get the systems engineer in place, we feel like we're rocking and rolling, we have good control of this, and we can save taxpayer money, then it's my responsibility to advocate for that. But again, I believe number 2 is going to be the likely, and we're going to ask for fully managed implementation services from Vero.
I have a question. So let's say if you run into some issues and benchmarks are met in the first piece, can that, and this is a 2-year process, this is outlined for 2 years?
That's what we're estimating, yes.
So what if there's a delay? I mean, do you foresee a delay? You see full implementation of all 3 modules, all 3 applications within 2 years?
Well, it's going to be 2 years' worth of services, but it may be so that we do tax implementation, and maybe there's a 2-3 month gap between when we start tax implementation from when we start UB, and also the same thing with financial HR. So 2-year implementation, but it may take longer because we may delay in starting implementation for certain
But your goal
modules.
is to have all 3 implemented for the residents, everything within 2 years.
That's my goal. If everything worked out properly, then yes, that would be my goal. Yes. Okay.
Comments or questions? Yes, ma'am.
What is the timeline for the financial and HR modules?
So we just issued the RFP. We got results back. I want to say we only received 4. Okay, we received 4 responses. We want to take our time evaluating those responses. If we don't feel comfortable with those, we have time, and we'll reissue, and we'll do better, again, more proactive marketing again, and just try to get as many RFP results back as possible. We have time, because we're going to, again, first focus on tax, and that's going to be about a 6-month implementation. And then we're going to implement utility billing once our smart meters say we're ready to go, which we project will be around August, September timeframe. That's when we believe we'll start utility billing. Again, that should be between a 6 and 8 month implementation process for that one. So again, we're not going to start financial and HR probably until calendar year 2024. So there's no rush right now to select a vendor. We want to take our time, but if we feel comfortable with one of those 4 that did apply after our rounds of scoring and interviews, then we will bring that back to you all and recommend that we do select our financial and HR software.
Thanks.
No, I'm fully supportive of the fully managed. I've been through this as a finance person, and it's very complicated. It takes a lot of bandwidth for staff. So to have a consultant on board to help walk us through this process is critically important. So I'm glad that we're going that way. And I like the way you're structuring this, that we'll see and then take one piece at a time. That's excellent. Thanks.
Okay. Councilmember Javed, do you have any comments? No. Okay. My question is, how many of the listed references were contacted?
We reached out to all of them. We received back, I forget how many we've received back, but it was an incredible, review. So we'll keep on that, but we did reach out to them all, but we sent kind of a questionnaire for response. So we'll start also cold calling those that we haven't heard back from.
Okay, thank you. And also, I noticed that the go live and the post go live was lumped together in the same category for 40 hours. If it comes in if less than 40 is required, does the city get a refund? How does that work?
Yeah, I'll have to work on that from a contract standpoint, but I still want support even from a post go live. We saw it with the payment portal. There's constantly, I want to have them on contract because we may not see it now, but a month after we're done implementing, something may pop up. So I want to fully exhaust those hours. We've seen it with Keystone, right? How many years afterwards we identify.
Right.
With any good system, you're still going to have some issues that you may run across with a month, 2 month, 3 months. So I prefer to structure the contract where we can utilize those hours as needed post go live to get this done.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Yes, ma'am.
Just from someone that does this for a living, and who actually was forced upon a time to actually do an implementation without being trained, I can agree with Councilmember Moore, it is miserable.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit more seasoned and educated now. I let the professionals do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I will turn it over
Sort of
to
like
Amy.
heart surgery, right?
Right, right. You don't want a dentist doing the heart surgery.
All right. Here you go.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity. Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
And thank you, Leslie. And I want to use that in our marketing. That is miserable.
It was.
But thank you for the opportunity to present our qualification and for this chance to serve the city of Manassas Park. We're extremely thrilled. I want to briefly introduce Avero and tell you who we are and why we are successful in what we do and which other cities that are similar that we've served, and then take any questions. Of course, I won't bore you for 3 hours like I did Laszlo and his team. But Avero, we are just outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. We are a 2-time Inc. 5,000 fastest growing company in the U.S., and we specialize in ERP implementations, IT strategic planning, business process redesign, really taking the PMP, project management professional certifications and the rigor of that profession through implementation processes and helping cities like you protect their interests. And that's all we do. We focus on working with cities, counties, government agencies across the United States. And of course, we're members in a bunch of city organizations and government industry organizations. We're also a minority-owned certified business in a bunch of states. We are at the forefront. We think we're nerds about this business. We chose this life. And we do a lot of thought leadership on our YouTube channel, on our blogs, and we're constantly thinking about how we can best serve clients like you, because we believe that there are a lot of unscrupulous vendors out there that are taking advantage of clients that have day jobs, that are running a city, that don't have the bandwidth to take on a full-time software implementation. And so we help those clients protect their interests and go live within the budget and the time frame that's been promised. So we'll hold our vendors accountable. Our team is very seasoned. We brought most of these folks out here for a presentation, and we formed this team. We have a larger team. It's a boutique consulting firm, so we're not over 7 different offices with many layers. We are here. I'm going to be involved in the project, and we take pride in serving our clients. We choose our clients carefully, and as a small firm, it's really in our best interest to not have you guys upset. So we do what it takes to take this through. We are based out of Knoxville, but we are all across the country. This isn't even the most updated chart, but we are thrilled to have Manassas Park, hopefully, after this meeting as a client. But as you can see, we have a method that allows us to serve clients across the country, not just on Zoom. We prefer being on site. So we will never leave you alone with the vendor. We'll be here to hold your hand throughout this whole process if you're given the opportunity. I founded Avero in 2016, but prior to that, I have about 15 years of experience, again, doing just this, city, county governments, ERP implementations, and the focus is on local governments. We thrive on providing these services to clients across the U.S. And we focus on just a few things: technology strategic planning. How do we make our city or county modern without going overboard? We don't want to be on the bleeding edge, but how can we be more efficient? And how do we get out of this cycle of too much paper, too many workarounds to your systems? And we do that through ERP, implementation services, and technology infrastructure. We do several other things like disaster recovery planning, cybersecurity, but this is our core focus. And we have clients big and small. Our biggest client right now is Monroe County, New York, which is about 3,000 employees. And then we have several Manassas Park size cities under our belt that we're currently serving or have served. And then experience with software vendors. We don't represent, resell. We're not partners with any software vendor. So all of our efforts, all of our consulting, all of our work is in your corner. So a lot of times when the vendor community tries to pull a fast one on our clients, it's our job to be the bad guys in the middle to protect our clients. So while we don't resell any of these products, because of the work we do and have done over the years, we're very familiar with where the bodies are buried and how they're treating other clients and what they're offering other clients, so we can bring that knowledge to the table from day one. And the city manager did a great job of explaining why we're doing this project. You've been through this for a while, so I won't get into it, but I think the overall outcome is to make Manassas Park a modern operational city that, you're giving your citizens and your staff the tools that they expect, that they use in their daily lives in a personal way. Why does it have to be different when you walk into the city building? Why do you have to line up outside of City Hall or at the counter to pay your bills, to collect tags or pay taxes? Let's, at least get into the 20th century. So that's the overall outcome, and we'll do that while working with you and the vendors, and this is going to be a team effort, and we've committed to the city manager's office that we're committed to this, and it's going to take teamwork. While they have their day jobs, we still will need their support and commitment on decision-making and pushing some buttons when we need them to with vendors and staff, because this is going to be difficult and painful. And, you know, the city has done this really well so far. I think taking the methodical, slow approach to an ERP replacement is very commendable, because it's really easy to get a big amount approved by council and then just go for it. And I've seen many projects like this crash and burn just because there wasn't any deliberate thought process behind why we're doing this. Should we back off? We don't like where we are. And what I've seen from the city so far is that you haven't gone into this foolish consistency sort of thing, right? Because we made a decision 5 years ago, we have to stick with it. And that's important because the landscape of ERP changes every day. Vendors are buying each other out, and there's a lot of consolidation, and the most important thing is for us to protect our own interests. So I commend the city for doing this well so far. With that, again, I'm not going to bore you with all of this other detail, and I'd love to take some questions from you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Comments or questions? Comments or questions?
I'm not sure if it's for the city manager or for you, sir, Mr. Vero. What role, if any, will you be playing in helping us, the city of Manassas Park, select the vendor to be our software going forward? I understand that it's out, RFPs have been out, we have 4 people that are interested.
Yeah, so we still have Barry Dunn, who's providing that service for his financial and HR for that evaluation. If we don't feel good about this round, and things are going very well with the implementation of taxes, I think when we reissue the RFP, we'll certainly want to consult Avero and re-engage on that front.
Yeah.
We would love
Your
to help you with that.
experience is
Yes.
very impressive.
Thank you.
With the various software, so thank you. And
Appreciate that.
look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Same here.
Councilmember Javed, do you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I mean, I got no questions. I mean, I think he answered it while you were discussing about the vendor selection, that you have no ties with any vendors.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
it's good to have that unbiased
Correct.
role in that implementation.
Yeah. I was
Yep.
likewise impressed by that.
Thank you. That's the foundation we've built our practice on, is to be independent, truly independent.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, comments or questions? Okay. Great. Comments or questions? Okay.
I just have one question. For the
Yes.
city of Martinsville, what did you do with the city of Martinsville? The city of Martinsville in Virginia?
Martinsville, I don't think we have that.
It was on your client list.
It's in Virginia, we've done work with Pittsylvania County.
Okay, in Martinsville. Okay.
Yeah. Charlottesville, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Charlottesville and, let
That's
me
not
go back.
Martinsville, going back.
I don't think
There it is
Martinsville.
right there.
Oh, this is the
Next one. Next one over.
Maryville, Tennessee.
Oh, Maryville. Okay.
This is our hometown,
Ah,
actually, so.
That's what they're offering.
Yes, and we just took them live on financials. HR's going live next month. And this is one that's dear to my heart because it's our hometown. Our office is across from City Hall. We could not have screwed this up.
I'll come find you.
Yeah.
Very happy for them.
One last quick
Yes,
question.
ma'am.
So the team that will be supporting the implementation here, will they be fully dedicated to the city of Manassas Park?
While they're working with the Manassas Park
Okay.
project, because it will ebb and flow.
Right.
We'll have configuration timeframes, we'll have some breaks between tasks, so at that time, they will be serving other clients.
Okay. I only ask because, like, right now, I'm split amongst 4 different projects, and one of them is kind of similar to this.
Right.
And it's not fun.
It's hard. And so we take that very seriously. And like I said, we choose our clients, we do resourcing really well. So the first thing we'll do is to actually create a work plan. I mean, we have a sample one in here, and things have already changed since we came out here last. So the first thing to do, sorry for flipping this so quickly, is to create an actual Gantt chart with resourcing.
Yeah.
And that's when we'll see when the gaps are. And a lot of this is dependent too on the vendor's timeline. So Avinity has proposed 6 months, but we are yet to see their actual project plan. So I think that's the first thing we'll do, is sit down with those guys and see when we need to staff resources and what time.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. If there's no further questions or comments, we'll move on to the staff recommended motion, which is that the governing body authorize the city manager to negotiate and sign a contract with Avero Advisors Incorporated for ERP implementation support services at a cost not to exceed $462,841, pending final review by city attorney.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you very much for being with us this evening. Did you come all the way from Tennessee?
I did.
You
It's a
did.
quick direct flight, no worries.
Much appreciated.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Okay. Okay. Moving on to the newly created 9D, which is VML financing for school security. And by the way, congratulations to staff on the low interest rate for the lease purchase agreement.
Yeah, that
That
was
was
very
fantastic.
exciting. Yeah. So good evening again, Mayor and members of the governing body. So just to go over some details, and Dean, please feel free to chime in here, but there was 2 different resolutions. So one was part of the packet that went on the website. That was just a quick kind of turnaround that VML crafted based off kind of standard examples they had before. And then they got the final one, working with Bank of America, the final form actual resolution, and that's what I uploaded separately. And then after that, I uploaded separately the long agreement. It was about 60 pages, so I hope you all had time to read that, but that's why I wanted to pull this out of consent. I want to just go over quickly, though,
For clarification, it was the one uploaded on Sunday.
exactly, that's the resolution.
Clarification for the public.
Yeah, and that's the one that's up here as well.
Can I just point out real quick, it shouldn't say form of authorizing resolution at the top. Okay, that's just taken directly out of the documents we got. So when you approve it, you're approving a resolution, not the form of authorizing resolution. I know it's a technicality, but I just want to make that clear.
So the key points, again, for this is always, for me, is always the terms, right? What are we getting out of this? And again, you see the principal amount that we're actually going to execute the lease purchase is not equivalent to the full amount, because again, we got a federal grant to cover a nice down payment to reduce the cost here. So they have that right. And then again, this very low interest rate, which was more than 200 basis points less than what we originally thought it would be. So that's a
Fantastic.
huge win. And then again, if you go down to Section 4, this was the key. Again, we're not impacting our general obligation with this. This is purely a lease purchase. So that was a concern, is could we do that over 10 years, or were we stuck with 5 years? So the good news is we're back to a 10-year model lease purchase agreement, and that was kind of the key elements of this resolution. So you have, again, the much longer, see if I can pull that up, actual agreement. What is that?
And I'm the one that has to review these agreements all the time, and we go through this all the time with these lease purchase agreements. This one is one of the best ones I've ever read. They did a great job preparing it. Maybe you didn't think it was all that great reading through it, but for me, the things I look for were all taken care of. It was a pleasure to read this thing. So usually I have to make a lot of changes, and it's a process of butting heads with people who don't understand how Virginia works. This one's already set up nicely. I couldn't have written it better myself, so I'm
And just so
happy.
you know, Dean, it's always a pleasure when the 7 of us read our packets. It is a
It
definite
is
pleasure.
a pleasure, but I bet you didn't all read it in the same depth as
Yeah.
others of us read it, so.
What are you implying?
I know, really. You have a lot of great.
I did not enjoy the read as much. Are there any questions about this? I know it's a lot. We're rushing to kind of get this locked in, because when I saw the interest rates,
Yeah.
I wanted
Comments
to
or
move quickly.
questions?
No, good job, though, getting this done.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Big kudos to Finance Department who
Yeah.
delivered. Yeah.
Councilmember Hampton, do you have any questions? No? Councilmember Amaya? Councilmember? No?
Looks great.
Okay, no questions. Let's move on to the, do you have a question? Sorry.
Just on the first page, so the leasing, are we the leasing or the school district is?
We are, and we're going to own the equipment still.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Any
but then, I guess the question to you then is, because the whole contract is leasing, property leasing, this, leasing that, so if it's in the school property, that's okay, no?
It isn't. So I'm glad you brought that up because technically the city doesn't own the property, but there's provision in state code that says anytime the city takes on debt to either build a school or make improvements to a school for a period for longer than a year, then automatically we become tenants in common through operational loss. We do actually we are owners of the real property until it's paid off.
So it's paid off. Okay, that
Yeah,
makes
but
sense.
we're going to retain ownership of the equipment itself per this agreement. Now, what's not in here is an additional document associated with the fact that this is, even though the agreement says everything, the equipment is personal property and has not become a fixture, even though it says that, we still expect additional documentation that we're going to have to sign that will take into consideration that it's part of real property. Because, I mean, it is going to be it's going to be a fixture in
Well, you
everything
can
but
move it,
name.
though, I mean,
Well,
it won't be.
right, but typically when you attach something to the building,
Yeah.
it becomes a fixture and becomes part of the real property. And it's usually taxed, in private businesses, it's taxed that way. But this here, it has to remain personal property per the agreement. But I just want to let you know, we got something coming our way because we had to submit some additional information today dealing with the real property itself. I can get the name of that for you in a second if you want. But,
I just want to thank Dean especially because I threw a lot at him last second, and I was impressed with how quickly he was able to go through all this and get us the feedback we needed as well. So thank you, Dean, for everything.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Who's, I guess, any repairs that needs to be done or damage will come back as a city bill?
Yeah, since if we're the owners, then we would issue it to our
Well,
insurance
is there like a
claim.
warranty on the equipment from the vendor?
Yeah, we would have to work with the vendor. Yep. But we already have, remember, when you approved this, going to do this in December, you also approved a maintenance agreement as well. This is covered in that maintenance agreement, just like the equipment in City Hall, police station. So all public buildings, including schools, are covered under one maintenance agreement as well.
Certain documents prepared in connection therewith.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was great. Thank you, Laszlo. Okay, so moving on to number 10, which is public comment time. Is there anyone signed up for public comment, or is there anyone who is not signed up but who would still like to make public comment? Okay, seeing no one and hearing no one, we move on to city manager's report.
And I just want to start off from the earlier public comment. If residents believe that we can issue tickets based off of like a variable message board or one sign, we can't. That'll be rejected in the courts. So we have to put up the signs, and we hope to have the signs up by August. Remember when you were briefed on that, that was the timeline that we're going with. So we do have to procure that equipment, but just please let residents know that our police just can't issue a ticket without residents being able to see, or violators being able to see the warnings that you can't park your commercial vehicle there. Well, so it will be overthrown in court.
And the signs will be up by when, did you say?
The goal was August, September. when
August,
we were-
September.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Could you just take a moment to clarify again the reasoning behind why we haven't done any of that research on Manassas Drive regarding the accidents? Because there's a bunch of accidents on that.
Oh, we are.
that
We are. We have done some of the research, and we already received a grant. We'll talk about that CIP. If you want to listen in tomorrow night to the Planning Commission, they have an exciting briefing. You'll see a project that we received. Steve did a great job. I believe we got $700,000 for safety enhancements all along Manassas Drive to, damn it, I forget which road in the eastern part in the Blooms area. but it covers most of Manassas Drive. So we are going to already be doing safety enhancements along with the additional studies. So we're not done yet, right? We've been getting a lot of grant funds for studies, so that's been reducing how much we've had to spend in terms of our money, and we've been kind of putting all those studies together to kind of help inform us of the safety enhancements.
So just to clarify that we are working on it.
We are, yeah, and I'll ask our police to provide us data also, updated data on speeding ticket enforcement as well, so we can share that with our residents.
Thank you.
Okay. The main issue for tonight for the manager report is just the decorations for the second floor. This is an item that we had brought a few months ago. We convened a committee, including the city clerk and certain amount of my staff as well, to just come up with concepts for what we can do on the second floor. And I wanted to show you this and then just put it out there if you guys want to make any modifications to this. But essentially what you have here is you get out of the elevators here on the second floor, and this is what we're proposing. We have our new logo, Manassas Park, Virginia. We're going to put our historical artifacts, we're hoping not just on the second floor, but also on the third floor, in a new display case that we're bringing over from City Hall and other historical artifacts that we have about our city. And we put up pictures, names of our governing body and our other city leadership, so that people get to know who we are when they come off the elevator. We work with the city clerk when we receive donated artwork or other artwork that we receive or that you receive, to put that up on the walls as you're walking to the chambers and when you're in the governing body area as well. In this wall right out here, we would have the official city seal, along with in the dais as well, to signify our official seal of our government. On that wall as well, on each side, would be school board and city council, all the historical members of both. So we'll have kind of a plaque with names, right? And we'll probably make room for a significant amount, probably 100. And then in 20, 30 years, they'll have to figure out when they run out of space what they'll do then. But we'll have a good solution here for the next couple decades for that, to have all of our school board members and all of our city council members listed and the date they were originally sworn into office as well there. And then also in the governing body area, bringing over all the mayor's pictures that we had in the previous chamber area in the old city hall, including the current mayor, and just kind of lining them up, and again, having enough space that we should be good for the next 20, 30 years on all the different mayors, and then we'll see as they run out of space what they'll do with that. But that's our initial simple concept, and we want to put it out there and see if you guys have any issues, you want to make any changes to this, if you want to digest this, and then we can talk about it at another meeting. But I just wanted to share this as kind of a starting point, and if you guys say execute, then I'll work with the city clerk and we'll get this done.
Where will that beautiful piece of artwork go that was donated to the city by the gentleman who was the artist? Where's that going to go?
It's either going to be one of these two walls. One of these two walls where it says art.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I don't have a good eye for this, so I'm going to rely on someone else to.
I'm sorry, what's designated for that wall out there?
This wall out here that you're seeing out there is going to be the city seal, nice big city seal.
Okay.
And then on the left or the right, the school board, all the historical school board members.
Okay.
And then all the historical city council members.
Okay, thank you.
But the wall where right when you get off the elevator and you're coming to the governing body chamber, that wall will start to have some artwork, as well as the governing body area back here. That wall will also have some artwork as well.
Okay, thank you. Comments or questions? Comments? Yes, ma'am.
I think you should put Mr. Ahmad's art out here so that more people can see it and not back by the mayor's. 'Cause he gave
Oh,
us
you're
that
saying
big-
this wall here?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And
Again, I'm going to be out of that process. I don't have a good eye for art or anything like that,
let's
so
make
I'm
a
really
little
going to
note to
rely on.
whoever's doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, his work needs to be highly visible, because it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's the large piece, and I think people should see it.
Yes.
Also, are you gonna talk to us about the pictures that you put up of us before you do it?
No, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. We're actually, Lana had a great point about we need to standardize, right? So we'll set up some time when we're ready to execute this to have the kind of the same background for everybody.
Perfect.
Yeah,
That looks nice.
schedule a date to do that. Yeah, no, we're not going to use those pictures. Don't worry. That was just
Thank you.
that was a
Like, I don't want
mock-up.
that
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of
Great.
the frames are a little cheesy. you know,
Yeah,
so-
we'll make sure we standardize everything.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Go ahead.
Just the city council plaque. It won't be that plaque, 'cause that's kind of
No.
dark, and you can't really.
Yeah, just like the mayor one won't be this. We literally just pulled something off just to show you that like the idea of what we want to do, but that it won't be that plaque. Yeah,
Okay. Yes,
and we
ma'am.
want the names to be
I
big.
think Daryl has a question first.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we're going to protect the art, right? It's gonna be behind like a glass frame, like the glass in front of the artwork, because I could see small little children.
That would
Or
be
even
extra
adults.
money if you guys want to, but that's going to be some extra cost to do that. We were just
Well,
going to put
in
it
that
up
case, it needs to be high up where,
where children can.
right, or
Okay.
if someone accidentally, because there's some beautiful pieces of work, not only his, but some of the other ones we had in the old building.
Well, yeah, that was the question I had about the art. So we're talking about permanent pieces, like the gentleman who donated that piece, which is beautiful. I could see that being a permanent. But I also think it's important that we have revolving art. Sometimes local artists that we're able to hang their art for 3 or 4 months and swap out. That's my
That would be
concern,
my
that we
recommendation,
have
that we-
some revolving art as opposed to just all permanent pieces.
Yeah, I believe it should be revolving art.
Including
It could
students.
even be something like macrame, not
Oh,
just,
yes,
not just your
absolutely.
standard
Quilting,
art, yeah.
macrame,
Yeah.
all of that could be
And
done.
we've asked the schools upstairs, because they have their hallway, to make sure that they're taking art from the schools, like they used to do in the old city hall, and their walls had all the artwork coming from the kids. We asked them that, and told them that they have the ability to do that upstairs if they would like as well.
Because we have several local artists.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And muralists who've done work throughout our city that we should highlight it at times. And I think we have revolving art would be nice.
To
I could bring
piggyback
in
off
my
that,
crochet work.
Absolutely.
No, I was joking.
who would they contact?
I'm not that good.
Yes.
Who would they contact if they wanted to donate art?
Probably, I'm guessing, city clerk would be the best.
So would they have to donate it or just say, I want my, they're local artists, they're well-known
To
and just have it
let
hung
us
for a
borrow
few
it.
months or 3
Got it.
months?
Anna?
And give it back. If they're expecting it back, I think they should sign a release saying that.
Of course,
Sure,
yeah,
yes.
we're not.
We need a release.
Yeah. I don't want them to then go back after us if a kid did, Councilmember
Exactly.
Hampton was concerned about and damaged their art, that we would be responsible for that, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I have another question.
Yeah.
Will we have a process to vet the artwork to prevent something that is not appropriate from being posted?
And would that create a public space?
Yeah.
Sure, I don't know. I mean, that's probably a dean conversation,
so-
and now we're.
Yeah, if you're going to create a place that they can put whatever they want up there, then yeah, it is a.
No, they would have to be approved.
Yeah, so I think
what
if
would be
we're.
the criteria for approval?
We
So,
would have to set
yeah, I mean, you're going to have certain parameters.
Local artists.
Yeah, local, family friendly.
Family
Well, that,
friendly.
yeah, it should be
We'd have to have
neutral,
some parameters.
neutral.
No obscene things or
No
anything.
obscene, exactly.
Okay,
Images
so
or
then we
words,
got,
yeah.
what's the definition of
obscene,
obscene?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because, yeah, we're going to have to put some parameters on it, so,
Supreme Court said you've
What is
seen,
it?
they know it when you've seen it.
yeah, right, well, that's what the Supreme Court said, you know, that obscenity is, you know, I don't know what it is, but I know it when I see it.
Exactly.
But it's a local standard,
Hold it
so
close
yeah,
to
we
your
can work
mouth,
with that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a local standard based upon what is acceptable in the local community. That's generally what the courts look at. So we just have to look and see what's acceptable to our community.
Okay, okay.
And maybe we even poll them, you know, get a sense for what the residents want.
Is that something that we would vote on, knowing the?
Well, we'd have to have a
or-
policy in place if you're going to allow that. So, you know, whether
see.
it's, you know, the city manager, since he's in charge of all city property, he can come up with a policy if you want.
Yes.
It's something you could vote on if you want to make it a governing body, a policy, but the city manager controls public property, all city-owned property, so he could have a policy in place.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
Yep.
That's fine.
Something so simple turned into.
What's that?
I said I was just going to leave it to Lana's discretion, but I guess now I have to come up with a policy. so.
You can help with the policy.
No, we're putting it on your
Yeah,
shoulders now.
all right.
right?
I want to give you an example. When I went to Tacoma Park and met with the mayor back in 2016, there was art all over Tacoma Park City Hall, and when he was showing me around, there was a program, and one piece of art had a bunch of Confederate flags. And though they were trying to depict it, or just state that how offensive it was, the people in the class, right, in the programming, they came out and said, this is offensive, this should be removed. And then they had an events coordinator that oversaw that, and she says, well, we don't really, you know, we don't censor art here, but it was offensive, but the mayor took it away, and I don't want to see art by certain radical or hate groups or something that's offensive to, but again, I know it's offensive to some people may not.
Can we come back with you all a policy? Like, I really just wanted the structure, and then we can come back with more detail. But now I understand, though, you
Well-
clearly assigned me to be the art curator for City Hall, so I will.
Well, Councilmember Carrera, that's a very good point, because then that goes back to what Dean has said about establishing a platform for
Yes.
speech, yeah.
Well, the same thing we did with the flags, you know.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
it should
some
be the
of the
curator
policies
that.
Have a nice little policy to get it right.
Well, I'm sure other.
It's not my forte, but I'll
Other
try.
municipalities have probably faced this, so we could probably use maybe them as a template.
Yeah, see what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
If they have a policy, but we'll see.
Well, some of them have like just like a wall, and you can put whatever you want, and they just automatically paint over it like a week later,
Yeah, we
or
don't,
something like that.
yeah, we don't want that.
Still does
You
that.
could just make it the
Manassas City
policy.
has like an old town and the, I guess where they hang like flags, that you can actually hang art or something, so they do have a policy.
But residents can hang it, or they
They
decide?
choose, like,
They
they have a
choose, okay.
policy.
Yeah, I'll ask
Uh-huh,
Pat
yeah.
and see how they
Yeah.
manage that.
Quick question, are we going to have photos, like, for example, the first police station, the first city hall, the first whatever of Manassas Park?
Little museum.
You guys want that as art, or you want that as part of, like, the historical art? Like, where do you want that
I guess
exactly?
it could be part of the historical,
Okay,
because we had talked about historical photos, not historical per se, but historical for the city.
Kind of like a timeline of the city in
Yes,
photos.
yes, like that, yeah.
okay.
Okay.
In the
Take
historical-
it
But it's also very important.
I think,
You guys all up
Because-
here.
Well, Anna has everything, so
take
yeah.
it.
But you think about it, it's very important, because how many of you knew that that house on the corner of Scott and Manassas Drive was the first police station?
Yeah.
And that city hall, our
Yeah.
original city hall, was
Yeah.
the two houses across the street.
Yeah, and I think those of us who do know that knew it because we knocked doors and talked to old
Or
timers.
have lived here
Yeah.
forever and a day.
Yeah,
as long as we're not celebrating some of the bad things that occurred in the state of Virginia, Commonwealth.
I'm sorry, can you speak into your microphone?
I don't want to repeat that. Let's go on.
Okay,
Manassas Park history.
Yes.
yeah, that's why I said not history per se.
Right.
But,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
okay.
Got it.
Any other comments or questions?
But you like the structure at least of where.
Yes, we like the
Yeah.
structure.
Yes,
Love
thank
it.
you.
Okay,
So, where's the, this is not the third level, this is the second level.
Yeah, this is the second level. Yeah, the third level will look similar in terms of having the
Similar.
logo and the historical artifacts. There was no desire to have pictures up there from the school team or anyone, so we're probably just going to do these two things, and then we're really leaving it up to the schools to add their artwork from the school system up on the third floor.
That's good.
Yeah,
Perfect.
okay.
Thank you.
Great.
they're good at that.
Are we all in agreement?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool.
Thank you, Laszlo.
Okay.
Do you have any other information for us?
I don't, just a reminder, tomorrow, Planning Commission is the first capital improvement presentation. We did scale it back, so you will see that. But if you want to tune in tomorrow night to the Planning Commission, we'll give the CIP. But that, just know if you're watching that, that's not the final, that's more of a bucket list of all the projects, and we throw in tentative, we're saying FY '24 for a lot of projects. They're probably not going to be FY '24, we're probably going to have to push certain things back. But we're really listing the projects that need to get done, and then we'll figure out, as I get the revenue projections, when we can actually get those done.
Okay, so the CIP that's presented tomorrow evening, will that be the full version? It will not be truncated?
It will, but I also provide the Planning Commission.
It will what?
So let me explain. So I provide to the Planning Commission two documents.
Yes.
One is a read-ahead, that's the full, every single project across the 5 years. The one that I'm presenting tomorrow night, which I also presented them, is just FY '24, along with a 5-year summary that I'm going to be providing.
Okay, so it's the truncated version?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
But again, the Planning Commission did have the read-ahead, so they've seen every single project, and they can ask us questions about those projects tomorrow night as well.
Okay. Can you send us the complete readout?
Sure, we can do that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to change probably dramatically though, and once it gets to the governing body level. So, but at least you'll see what the projects are. The order will be out of
Okay.
place. Yeah.
For those of us who want to tune in tomorrow
Sure.
evening? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
7 o'clock, right?
I beg your
It's
pardon?
at 7 o'clock?
Yep.
Yeah. Question?
Yeah, but not related to that. This is regarding their enforcement of the decals at the end of the month. I've had residents reach out to me about the police coming around with a little car mobile, because they
Yeah.
haven't seen it. I'm assuming at that time, we'll see a resurgence of that.
We need a parking enforcement officer for that, and unfortunately, the person who left law enforcement to be a parking enforcement officer went back to law enforcement. So we don't have a parking enforcement officer right now, so we're trying to recruit.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're not going to see, you'll see police officers
But we won't see the
enforcing it, but you won't
minimobile.
see the mini-mobile. Yeah, we have to,
lost another parking and,
yeah,
Tough job.
yeah.
Well, he went back.
He went back, he was,
Yeah,
yeah.
reverted his position.
And the person we were trying to recruit for the longest time changed their mind the last second and went back to their jurisdiction, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Do you need to be a sworn officer for that?
For park enforcement, no, you don't.
So it could be a civilian job.
Yeah. Mhm. Bill was, our first one, he was great, he was a civilian. Yeah.
And that's posted on the website?
It should be, yeah, it's still on there. Kelly will check real quick. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
okay. Comments, questions? Anything else for Laszlo? Do you have anything else?
Nope, I don't.
Okay. No closed session. Anything else for the good of the city? Okay, motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thanks, everybody.
I will be remote to the next meeting.
You'll be remote
Remote.
tomorrow night?
No, to the next meeting,
Oh,
our
to-
meeting.
okay, okay.